Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you the WNBA has just made the single biggest blunder in the history of professional sports? What if I told you that the league was handed a golden ticket, an athlete so electrifying, so marketable, so transformative that she single-handedly turned women's basketball into must-watch television? And instead of protecting her, respecting her, and rewarding her, the league insulted her, underpaid her, and left her vulnerable to injury. Today, we're breaking down how the WNBA may have just destroyed its own future by mishandling Caitlin Clark, and how a $15 million bombshell offer from outside the league has flipped the power dynamic forever. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, this wasn't just another rookie debut. This wasn't simply a first-round draft pick making her way into the league. No, this was history in the making. Clark arrived as a phenomenon. She wasn't only piling up points, she was bringing millions of new fans who had never once tuned into a WNBA game. Her presence lit up arenas, ignited social media, and filled merchandise racks with her name overnight. The league had spent nearly 3 decades clawing for relevance through slogans, rebrands, marketing campaigns, and partnerships that never quite landed. Then, suddenly, one player accomplished what billions of dollars in advertising couldn't. She made the WNBA matter. Clark was the cultural force the league had been waiting for, their shot at legitimacy, their breakthrough moment. Yet instead of embracing her as the savior she so clearly was, the league treated her like she was disposable. In doing so, they may have committed a blunder so colossal that the shadow it casts will linger for decades. This wasn't just poor management, it was malpractice, the kind that rewrites history. From the very first moment Caitlin Clark suited up for the Indiana Fever, the transformation was undeniable. This wasn't a gradual build-up, it was a tidal wave of attention and energy that crashed into the WNBA overnight. Tickets for Fever games, which used to linger on sale for weeks, were suddenly gone within hours. Scalpers saw resale prices triple, something unheard of in women's basketball. Entire arenas filled to capacity, not with the usual small clusters of diehard fans, but with families, kids, and brand new audiences who were attending their very first WNBA game solely because Caitlin Clark was on the floor. Every night she played, it was more than a basketball game, it was an event. National broadcasts that had historically struggled to pull viewers were now setting record-breaking ratings. The numbers weren't small bumps, they were seismic. By the end of her rookie season, Fever attendance topped 200,000 fans, a number higher than any team in league history. Meanwhile, television viewership surged by 21%, merchandise sales exploded, and social media engagement skyrocketed. Clark wasn't just another athlete, she was the heartbeat of the league. The irony is that what the WNBA spent decades trying and failing to achieve through branding gimmicks and PR campaigns, Clark accomplished in a matter of months, simply by being herself. She wasn't just lifting the Fever, she was carrying the entire WNBA on her back. And instead of rewarding that miracle, the league responded with an insult that stunned fans everywhere. Caitlin Clark was delivering everything the WNBA had ever dreamed of: sold-out arenas, soaring TV ratings, and a cultural buzz that made people finally talk about women's basketball like it mattered. But when it came time to reward her, the league handed her a paycheck that was nothing short of a slap in the face. Her rookie contract, 4 years, $338,000 total. That breaks down to about $85,000 a year. Let that sink in. The woman single-handedly dragging the league into relevance was making less than many assistant coaches at the college level, less than middle managers at tech startups, less than the people designing marketing campaigns that her face was carrying. Meanwhile, across the hall in the NBA, the #1 overall draft pick walks into a 4-year contract worth a jaw-dropping $55 million. That's not a small gap, that's a canyon. Caitlin Clark was making 162 times less than her male counterpart. 162 times. Imagine being the athlete who's filling arenas, breaking ratings records, and selling out merchandise, only to realize that your contribution is valued at pennies compared to men doing the same job. It wasn't just underpayment, it was devaluation. It sent a message louder than any press release: we don't value her. And once that message got out, it didn't just live on paper, it spilled onto the court in dangerous ways. When the league underpays its brightest star, it doesn't just insult her, it emboldens her opponent. That's exactly what happened with Caitlin Clark. Once players and teams realized the WNBA wasn't going to protect her as its marquee attraction, the floodgates opened. Almost immediately, Clark became the target of constant physical abuse on the court. We're not talking about ordinary hard fouls that come with competitive basketball. We're talking about deliberate, calculated, cheap shots. Opponents hip-checked her with extra force, shoved her midair during layups, and threw sneaky elbows away from the ball. These weren't defensive plays, they were attempts to wear her down, to send the message that she didn't belong. Night after night, fans watched their league's biggest draw take a beating, and they also watched referees swallow their whistles as if blowing them was forbidden. The league's silence spoke volumes. They had no issue using her face in promos, no hesitation putting her front and center in marketing campaigns, but when it came time to protect their investment, they turned their backs. The result? Every opponent felt emboldened, every shove went harder, every foul got dirtier. What the WNBA didn't understand was simple. By refusing to protect Clark, they weren't just risking her health. They were putting the entire league's future on the line. And the consequences of that negligence soon escalated in a way that would shake fans to the core. The tension around Caitlin Clark didn't just stay physical, it took an ugly turn that sparked outrage far beyond the court. During one heated matchup, cameras appeared to catch Brittany Griner, one of the league's most recognizable figures, directing a slur at Clark. Lip readers claimed they saw Griner call her a trash white girl. The clip went viral instantly, spreading like wildfire across social media. Fans were outraged, commentators demanded answers, and yet, the WNBA is silent. No fines, no suspensions, no investigation. The same league that had plastered Clark's face on posters and sold tickets off her name suddenly had nothing to say when she was the target of a racially charged insult. That silence spoke louder than words. It wasn't just disrespectful, it was dangerous. It told the rest of the league, she's fair game. Do whatever you want, we won't step in. Think about the message that sends, not only to Clark but to the millions of fans. Many of them new to the sport, watching close. They saw a star treated like an outsider, like someone not worth protecting, even when the abuse went beyond basketball. The incident exposed the WNBA's double standard and deepened the perception that Clark was on her own. For a league struggling to prove its legitimacy, this was more than a PR misstep, it was a betrayal. And as the season dragged on, that betrayal would come to a breaking point. On September 5, 2025, the nightmare scenario the WNBA should have seen coming finally arrived. Caitlin Clark, after months of relentless cheap shots, shoves, and elbows with no protection from officials, went down with a right groin injury that ended her season. Headlines called it bad luck, a tragic twist of fate. But let's be clear, this wasn't bad luck, this was the bill coming due. This was months of negligence cashing in. Night after night, Clark absorbed punishment, and night after night, referees looked away while league executives remained silent. Her body didn't fail her, the system failed her, and when she went down, so did the WNBA's future. Because without Caitlin Clark on the floor, attendance dipped, ratings cooled, and the buzz that had made women's basketball a national talking point began to fade. Fans weren't blind, they knew exactly why it happened. They saw the hip checks, the mid-air shoves, the reckless fouls that piled up. They saw the league turn its back when a racial slur was caught on camera. They saw the negligence, and now they saw the result. The injury didn't just sideline Clark, it exposed the WNBA as incapable of protecting its most valuable star. For a league that had spent nearly 30 years clawing for relevance, this was catastrophic. The golden goose had been broken, and not by accident, but by failure at the highest level. When Caitlin Clark went down with injury, the WNBA may have thought they dodged a bullet, that sidelining her would cool the storm. But in reality, it lit a fire elsewhere. Investors, rival leagues, and entrepreneurs were watching closely. They saw what the WNBA refused to see, that Clark wasn't just a player, she was the future of women's basketball, and she deserved to be treated as such. The first bold move came from Unrivaled, a new 3-on-3 league founded by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. Unlike the WNBA, Unrivaled didn't see Clark as a cost to control. They saw her as the cornerstone to build upon. Their offer, over $1 million annually, already far beyond her WNBA paycheck. But with a twist, an ownership stake in the league itself. This wasn't just money, it was respect, it was power, it was legacy. For the first time, someone was telling Caitlin Clark, "You're not just an employee, you're a partner." That offer alone sent shockwaves through the sports world, because it proved what fans had been shouting all along. Clark wasn't just part of the league, she was the league. And if the WNBA couldn't value her properly, someone else. This wasn't about her leaving tomorrow. It was about leverage, about choices, and about the undeniable fact that the WNBA no longer had exclusive control over its brightest star. If Unrivaled's $1 million deal was a wake-up call, Ice Cube's offer was a nuclear explosion. The rap legend and business mogul, already successful with his Big Three men's league, saw the chaos in the WNBA as the perfect opening, and he didn't hesitate. Reports broke that Ice Cube had put $15 million on the table for Caitlin Clark to play in his league. $15 million. To put that in perspective, that's not just more than every WNBA player combined. It's more than most NBA role players make in a year. The offer wasn't just generous, it was historic, and it forced a reckoning. For years, the WNBA told fans they simply didn't have the money to pay stars like Clark what they were worth. Yet here was Ice Cube, an outsider, proving that money was there. It just wasn't in the WNBA's pocket, and it didn't matter whether Clark ultimately accepted it or not. The damage was already done. The perception was clear. She was worth fortunes, and the WNBA had been robbing her of them. Fans saw it, players saw it, and most importantly, Clark saw it. For the first time, she had proof that she was bigger than the league. Ice Cube's offer turned her from underpaid employee to global free agent, and the WNBA looked powerless, scrambling, and completely unprepared for the fallout. The WNBA thought fans would forget, that Clark's injury and the league's silence would fade from the spotlight. But instead, it ignited outrage. Social media lit up with hashtags like Protect Caitlin and Pay Her What She's Worth. Comment sections on official WNBA pages turned toxic, not toward Clark, but toward the league itself. Fans accused executives of negligence, bias, and sabotage. Sports talk shows that once ignored women's basketball suddenly couldn't stop debating the league's failure to protect its most valuable star. Journalists drew brutal comparisons. If the NBA's top rookie, someone like LeBron James in 2003, had been hacked, fouled, and slurred without protection, would the league have stayed silent? Absolutely not. Yet that's exactly what happened with Clark. Even mainstream networks, hungry for ratings, leaned into the controversy. ESPN segments questioned whether Clark should even return to the WNBA after the way she'd been treated. Podcasts and YouTube channels amplified every clip of her getting fouled, every moment the referees swallowed their whistles, every smirk from opponents after taking her down. The narrative shifted from the WNBA is growing to the WNBA doesn't deserve Caitlin Clark. And here's the kicker. It wasn't just Clark's fans saying it anymore. Neutral observers, casual sports watchers, even critics of women's basketball admitted the obvious. The league had sabotaged its own biggest star. The backlash wasn't just noise. It was a warning, and if the WNBA didn't course correct, the storm brewing outside was about to tear it apart from within. By the time the dust settled, the WNBA found itself in the middle of a storm it had created. Caitlin Clark, the rookie who had injected life, ratings, and dollars into the league, was now sidelined, underpaid, disrespected, and actively courted by rivals waving fortunes in her face. The league's failure wasn't just about one player. It was about what she represented. Clark was proof of concept that women's basketball could be mainstream, could draw millions of viewers, could sell out arenas, and yet instead of protecting and uplifting her, the WNBA allowed jealousy, politics, and negligence to dictate her experience. That choice has left them on the brink of collapse. Rival leagues like Unrivaled now loom large. Ice Cube's Big Three style offer still hangs in the air, and fans are openly questioning whether Clark even needs the WNBA anymore. If she leaves, the league doesn't just lose a star, it loses its legitimacy, it loses its momentum, it loses its future. The WNBA, which spent nearly 30 years scratching for relevance, now stands one decision away from unraveling completely. And here's the brutal truth. The damage may already be irreversible. Caitlin Clark gave the league everything. Her talent, her spotlight, her fan base, and in return, the league failed her at every turn. Now with millions of fans watching, and rival leagues circling like sharks, the WNBA faces its reckoning. Either it rebuilds trust, protects its stars, and pays them what they're worth, or it risks becoming a cautionary tale of how greed and jealousy destroyed the very thing it was trying to build.